Hey guys, what's up? It's been a while since I've been on the IG flow. I don't really like it that much anymore, to be honest with you. Instagram and Facebook, I'm staying off there intentionally, but I still want to stay in touch with you guys. I'm posting this in the Zoom or in the Shift, which is in schools. A lot of you guys are in there, but I wanted to give you an update on the exciting last 4, 5, 6 weeks of my life, what I've been working on. A lot of you know that I started following RJ Spina, reading his books, Change Your Mind and Supercharged Healing, which I will still say are absolutely phenomenal. If you haven't picked those up yet, I would definitely recommend it. When I came onto his work, it literally made everything else that I have been doing obsolete. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about my journey with that. I went to San Diego, met RJ, went to a what was called a freedom workshop. We did a lot of meditation. We did a lot of essentially ascending the frequencies, which is RJ's website, ascendthefrequencies.com. But the reason that we do that is ultimately, I'm going to kind of summarize what I've learned. Like ultimately, some of this is almost all this stuff is stuff that I've learned before, but the simplicity and the actual effect, the tangible effect of the truth, because you feel it. Like I feel completely different than I did 2 months ago. So ultimately, the journey is about raising your vibration, right? And we've known that it's about raising your frequency. Everything is a frequency. And as you raise up into those higher frequencies, guys, you can actually go into the astrals. You can have out of body experiences. You can go to the Akashic records. Like literally, I'm talking about sitting in a deep meditation and matching the frequencies of these other worlds, which I'm not going to get into, but they're all mapped out. I mean, this has been done by yogis, by Buddhists, by Hindu religion, by mystics, and by a lot of people, normal people. And it's happening so much more right now. There's such a movement right now to raise your frequency. And really, that's what it's all about. And I've told you this before, but ultimately, the problem that we see in this world, all the problems, whether that's the tyranny from the government, the control, the selfishness, the materialism, the vanity, all of these things, number one, are a product of the ego mind. But number two, the only way to solve them is not to come in and say, well, we can fix the monetary system. Let's elect someone else. Maybe if Trump gets in, it'll be better or whatever. That's not the answer. There really is only one answer. And I know a lot of people may not grasp this, but I challenge you to really meditate and think about this. The only solution is for us to raise our frequency. The reason is it's because at these lower frequencies that we're operating at, these things can exist. When I say these things, I mean the things that we don't like, the resistance, the duality, the pain, the suffering, and it all comes from the ego mind. So let me explain this a little bit. When we were in San Diego, we talked a lot, just did a lot of theory, but we did a lot of practical, which means actually feeling it. RJ is really big on saying that the truth doesn't require anything, only lies do. Like when you settle into the truth, it's like this, oh gosh, so nice. And that's the way I feel right now. It's so nice. And the problem has been that we're rising up, we're taking our energy up into our ego mind. And the mind, follow me through this for a second. The mind, the brain, if you will, has two lobes, right? It's got the left and right, I guess, lobe or hemisphere, whatever they call them. And that is duality. That is what connects us to this earthly realm. And guys, we're not our bodies. Most of you know this. You are not your body. And you are just having this experience down here, right? You're a soul having a human experience. And one of the ways we connect is through this part of our body. So we associate that the brain is the end all be all knowledge. Being intelligent is the end all be all. But guys, it is not. It is actually what screws us up, and it is actually what feeds the matrix. So it's going to take me a minute to explain this, but when you have a center in you, think of a atom. Like, I don't know if you guys realize this, but you have like a God spark within you. It's a fractal. It's what turns you on. It's what makes you glow. It's what through the blueprints, what builds your body. It is your piece, your fractal of creation. That's what you are. You are a piece of God, and he's experiencing this world through you. So when you realize that, think of that part of you as a nucleus in an atom. And guys, the nucleus and the atom, that model runs throughout the universe. That is what the planets are. The sun is the nucleus, and the planets are the electrons or the protons. I get those confused all the time. But the point is everything works that way, and you are that way. And then in your thumbnail, there's millions of universes that are the same thing. So that atom runs through all things in all different sizes. So let's go back to you. The sun within you is the Christ consciousness that comes into you, and you can control where this is in your body. So there's seven chakras, right? Well, there's actually a lot more, but there's three main energy centers that you can actually move. You can consciously move this nucleus, which is the God particle that's within you. You can actually move it to different parts of your body. You can bring it up here, and you can say, you know, I'm up here, and this is where 99% of the people are. And that's why the ego and when you have the consciousness up high, imagine it like the way I like to think about it is like a golf ball that's like glowing neon, right? And that is like the God within you. Okay. Hopefully you guys are following me. This is profound, and it's going to relate to a lot of the teachings you've heard, but I'm going to make it really simple. You choose where that is. And most of the time we're up here. We're up here in our, you know, you could say it's your third eye, but it works a little bit differently when your third eye is not open and you're just operating through your brain. That's the ego mind, guys. And that's what we spend all of our time in. You can consciously move this down. I have a website called Head Down to Heart, which I'm developing. And that's the whole idea. You take that nucleus, you take that God spark, which is you, by the way. That is the I am. That's all there is. That's you. And you bring that down, and ultimately you want it to settle in your heart. RJ calls it your sentience. That's who you are. And you bring it down and you let it settle. And when you're down here, it takes away the ego mind and things get really peaceful. But what I like to do, and RJ teaches this as well, is you even bring it all the way down to your navel to start with. And when you do that, I think I've taken you guys through an exercise. Just imagine bathwater draining and following that water level with that consciousness. And you bring it all the way down to just below your belly button. And when you do that, you have no thoughts. Your mind's completely at peace. And that's so important. That's literally, I don't want to say that is enlightenment, but that is the first and last step of enlightenment. And at being at peace, it's not like we're not getting enlightened so that we can be like, oh, I'm better than other people. It's so that we can stop feeding the ego mind. Because when you feed the ego mind, this might be a little hard to wrap your head around. When you feed the ego mind, your thought forms are feeding the matrix. So when you bring your consciousness up to here, you are actually putting out electrical thought forms that are feeding the problems that you hate. Even if you're saying, I don't like this, and you're up here, you're feeding it. And that's the way energy works, guys. That's the way all of creation works. And there's so many people that are studying this now. There's so many great people you can learn from. What I like about RJ is he makes it simple. So the idea is to drop your nucleus, your God particle, the piece of you that is the only real you, the piece of you that cannot be harmed, the piece of you that is already complete, the piece of you that, like a great example that RJ uses is like the sun. It is the sun in you. It is Christ consciousness in you. Every one of us has that. And that is the part of us that is exactly equal. We all have this ability. We can all be masters. So think of the sun. No matter how many hurricanes, earthquakes, thunderstorms, does the sun ever get hurt or affected in any way at all? That is a macrocosm, like Hermes Trismegistus says, as above, so below. That is a macrocosm to your microcosm. Your true I am, your sentience, your God particle, your nucleus never can ever be harmed. And it's also complete. So you want money? You want relationships? You want health? You already are all of those things. You just need to tap back in, drop your consciousness down. You're controlling where that golf ball is, right? The golf ball is your sentience, your I am. You're controlling it. When you bring it up here and you're like in your head trying to solve problems, you are adding to the matrix. It's like we hate the matrix and we don't want to be in it. But here we are up here with thoughts and da 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 da. And if you study this, guys, again, I can do more videos on this, but there are like thoughts are energy in motion, emotion put behind a thought creates an actual thought form. And clair essence people that can see these things, there's multiple clairs, but clair essence is all of them embodied. They can see your thoughts, right? So these thoughts actually go in and create our thoughts are what create our reality. So we are creating the matrix by keeping our I am up high in our head. That's it. And that's the way 99% of people operate. So when RJ says, don't think, like, you're like, what? How the hell am I going to not think? Try it. Move your consciousness down. Imagine it like this. This is another example. This is why RJ's such a great teacher, guys, because he's got all these great examples. Read his books. Imagine like holding a bunch of grocery bags. You know how you're always trying to make that one trip from the car. You're like, okay, you can't even get the car door shut. You're like, trying to slam the door, and then you're going, and like your pinky's getting cut off by the by the garbage sacks, and you're like, or by the grocery bags, and you're like, you get into the house, and you're just like, and you let the groceries down. That's what it's like when you move your I am, your neon golf ball, your sentience, your God particle, the true you, when you move it down out of here. This causes pain, guys. Move it out of here. Move it into the heart and move it even lower than the heart. What I like to do, and I think this is what works for me, this is from my experience, is you move it all the way down to the navel and you I don't like to say hold it there. In the beginning, it feels like you have to hold it there. But in reality, when you let all those groceries down, that's where it naturally goes. You're the one that brings it up because you're thinking, you're like, oh, I need to do this. I need to do that. Well, what about this? And that's what makes the matrix, guys. I know it's crazy. So, I don't care about materialism anymore, and I've had more money coming in than ever. My body feels absolutely amazing. I also pay attention to, there's an energy diagnostics section in RJ's book, Change Your Mind, and it teaches you how to pay attention to your interactions, whether that's with people, with social media, with your job, with whatever it is. I pay attention to those things and I notice when they bring me back up into my mind and out of my peace. And so I spend most of my day now, the majority, and it's taken me 4 weeks to do this with my sentience, with my I am, with my nucleus in my heart. And it's made all the difference in the world. So, this is the answer. This is the peace. This is the way. And it is challenging because your ego will fight you. Your ego's fighting you right now. It's whatever your ego's saying about me, it wants to stay alive and it's smart. So as you go through this, your ego will make the most clever rebuttals in the world, just like the devil. Imagine that. So this is about dropping out, moving away from knowledge and into intuition. You already know everything. You're just tapped into the wrong center. You're tapped into the egoic mind, not into your sentience and your truth. So let down the groceries and practice some of those things. There's several magic tricks. I'm not going to go into them right now to basically bring that ball down. That's what I call it. But this is the answer, guys. If everybody did this, we would raise our collective consciousness, and these control schemes that are in place would dissolve. Like they couldn't exist. The reason they can exist is because you're matching their frequency and causing them. And I know that's hard to hear. Whatever you resist, you persist. Think of it, another great analogy by RJ. Think of it like Spidey Man, like you shoot out a web and that web sticks to whatever you're thinking about. Like if you're attached to anything, if you're attached to Biden getting out of office, you say you hate him or you don't like him or, you know, our government's stupid. You're attaching, you're sending your Spidey web to that. And I always hesitate to say this, but the truth is they're actually harvesting your chi, your prana, your life force. And when you truly understand metaphysics, you'll realize that that is exactly what they're doing purposely. These guys are genius. They've been here doing this for thousands of years, guys. The only solution is to raise yo vibe. All right, I'll be back.